Hey, everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. We're going to talk XRP. We're going to talk the on-demand liquidity because that is what is so important when it comes to driving demand of this digital asset. So the narrative used to be that, this is May 2019, the question was always, will Ripple clients switch from Xcurrent to the XRP-powered XRapid? Well, that is when the two offerings were separate. They are now combined. So anybody who is a Ripple customer and part of RippleNet has the choice to use the digital asset XRP for on-demand liquidity in the corridors that are liquid. That is a big if the corridor is liquid. So we have a bit of an insight today, which is coming from the CEO of Ripple, Mr. Brad Garlinghouse, and he speaks directly to the use of using the digital asset XRP for on-demand liquidity. And for many of us who have been laser focused on this ODL, it's not a surprise. Actually, it's very reassuring because we know now exactly which hurdle has to be jumped over and how high it is. And it is not because XRP doesn't want to be used. On the contrary, the demand of XRP, ODL, on-demand liquidity, is growing faster than RippleNet. This is per Mr. Garlinghouse when he is talking to the Modern Consensus in this article, which was based on a lengthy phone interview. And actually, let's take a look here at some of the quotes from Mr. Garlinghouse. He talks about how Ripple, the company, has actually throttled that growth. So pulled back on it slightly because one of the things that's important when using ODL is you have to have really good liquidity on both sides of the transaction. And so if Ripple doesn't have enough liquidity in the marketplace, well, then you can't put as much demand through. This is kind of what we've talked about often as the chicken and the egg. It's a problem that's been discussed many times in videos, on Quorum, on Reddit, and it's often coming from the CTO, David Schwartz. Here in a Reddit post from David, back in July 2017, he's talking about how they are going to pick strategic corridors and then incentivize these corridors with huge pools of liquidity using XRP for settlement, and then they will hang more assets off the corridor that Ripple has built. This is why when you see there's a lot of news coverage when there is a new RippleNet customer, because that means a new corridor has been laid. And you have to, and I'm not saying it's a liquid corridor, I'm just talking about we've got a new network member to actually facilitate that rail. So it is very, very important. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, we got another RippleNet customer, but there's no ODL. You have to lay the rail first. You have to have the members first. And then you have to get both sides of that transaction liquid with exchanges and market makers and have a push and pull, a supply and a demand through that corridor at the same time. And yeah, it's been quite quite interesting to try this experiment. And it's never been done before. So there are two very liquid corridors, Mexico and the Philippines. And you might say Europe is getting very liquid. But as Naveen Gupta said last year, the target is to have the 30 to 50 largest corridors that can be liquid. So when you look at replicating that success, this is the Ripple employee, Craig DeWitt. And he talks about replicating not only Philippines, Europe, and Mexico, but to do it all over the world. And this was said in a fireside chat hosted by Prism Group on July 8th. So how are we going to get that done? And who's going to get it done? Well, if we pop over to Goldman Sachs, and I just want to tell you that they have employees all over the world working the FX market. This is Moe. She is a Goldman executive vice president of the foreign exchange here in Tokyo. She sells currencies to corporates and institutional investors. Most of her clients are banks, insurance companies, investment trusts, and sometimes different types of advisors. The Forex market, she says, moves very fast. And there are very big numbers that are traded, mostly very liquid, straight up trading, but also some extremely complex hedging products. So what does this have to do with XRP and liquidity? Well, it's because this gentleman here, Aditya Charakia, came from Goldman Sachs to Ripple. This was announced on August 18th. And he spent the past 7 years at Goldman, beginning as an FX analyst in Bangalore, India in 2013, before he moved to London in 2015. And that's where he rose through the ranks of the investment bank and became executive director of the global FX and emerging markets. And this is part of the management for Goldman. Before that, he was working as a flow trader and also a little bit with HSBC in Singapore. So I want to know, gosh, is he going to be successful? Well, to find out what Mr. Thrakia's job was when he was with Goldman, all you have to do is find the job listing for filling that position that he left. Now remember, FX News is a media that covers that sector. And they said he was the executive director, global FX and emerging markets. Well, here's the position. And yes, it's part of the IT computer software financial services in London for Goldman, and it is just that title. So the emerging market interest has a lot of different products, derivative products, and one delta product. The delta product is a type of derivative that has no optionality to it. But basically, this is a market-making desk working with banks, asset managers, hedge funds, etc. So this job, must also understand regulatory environments. And you have to be able to handle live risk. I think it's a very high-stress job. And I'd say that 5 years in London for him in that job has been ideal in terms of a training ground. And it's going to take an accomplished pro to get over that liquidity hurdle. And I don't think this guy would jump ship if he didn't think he was getting into a bigger, stronger, faster ship. So there's something going on here, because you don't leave a job like that unless you think you can do it. And I did get a heads up from Chip, who is, by the way, going to interview Catherine Coley with Jeff, I think this weekend. Yeah, I think shortly. You just want to definitely see that. He is with Jeff on thechain.io, and I think you'll be able to catch that interview. I'm very curious because, Catherine Coley used to be with XRP, and she also, too, was responsible for XRP liquidity when it comes to the investors, the institutional investors. I did give a couple of questions that I wanted to have these guys ask. We'll see if she will talk to that point at all. You know, and I think everybody's wondering if Binance is going to maybe be a facilitator of on-demand liquidity. Well, there were two jaw-dropping XRP amounts transferred by Ripple totaling 60 million in the last 24 hours, and 10 million of that did go to Binance. So I hope so. I hope so. XRP is moving. It is moving, and we know that the demand to use ODL is there. That is the reassuring part of this story and of this video. So now that we have that confirmation, it's all about being able to build liquidity on both sides of that transaction in those 30 to 50 major corridors. And this is where the Ripple rails have been laid and the network members are in place. So we have to really watch how his job goes. All right, everybody, we are jumping to the fluff. Oh, this isn't fluff, but I wanted to show you. This is interesting. This is on Twitter, and it's chirpty.com. And what it is an algorithm. It doesn't get into any of your personal information, like your sign-in or any of that sort, but you will create this circle of interactions that you've had as of late with people on Twitter. And I just think it's very interesting to see. It's almost like looking at yourself in a mirror, because you can almost remember, oh, I remember this. I remember this interaction. Oh, I remember this interaction. I remember this interaction. And it's all pretty recent. You can remember most of the interactions that you have. There's Mr. Kitao. There's DAI. Just so many people. There's my favorite writer, often on the, what's his media called? Global something. Sorry, Siamak, I forgot. I always pay attention to you. I don't pay attention to the media itself. There's I Am Legion. So many people. Here is somebody that I met in Tokyo at the XRP meetup. Actually, these two, we had a really good time after the meetup. Anyway, I get very like, wow, there's Leonidas. Yeah, there's Trump. The only reason why is because I've been tweeting out to him. There's Ashish Burla. There's BitTrue. There's Flare Networks. Anyway, there's Emi Yoshikawa. There's Mr. Garlinghouse. There's Win. It's fun. I'm not saying you should. There's Sam. But I think it's just one of those fun things, one of those fun tools. Twitter is not that fun for me, to be honest. I mean, it's a place I really need to keep up on, because most of the information drops first on Twitter. It's so important, but it's not an easy platform at all. So here is getting more into the fluff. I finished a new extended fluff today. It's on the very beautiful Kutani ware that is dating all the way back to the mid 1600s, and it's still very much a part of the ceramic porcelain that is made in Japan. And I tell you a little bit about the history, and also combine with a lot of pictures of what I think are some of the most favorite examples and most beautiful examples. And then here's the wacky side of Japan. Yeah, some of these mixed bugs are showing up in vending machines. This one is in the Nakano Broadway Plaza, which is, Nakano is kind of north of where I am in Tokyo. It's the north part of the city. And also these are down in Osaka as well. And yes, they are edible. No, I don't have any want or desire to try these, but it's just that wacky side. And with people being home, I think a lot of people have too much time on their hands. This is Chocola, and Chocola has more than 114 outfits called cosplay. And here it is the delivery service that is very much like UPS in the United States. It has the uniform on with boxes ready to be delivered and the all familiar van. And here the owner of that kitty put all the cosplay costumes on display. It's so funny. But really what I wanted to talk about is a little bit more traditional. This is a glass wind chime called a furin. Fu meaning wind, rin meaning bell, so kind of like a wind bell. But of course in the West we call them wind chimes. And the wind chime is the sound of summer. And always when we start to turn into August to September, I think about how I'm going to miss this sound of summer. And it is something that if you have never heard these, especially in an installation, Tokyo Station had an installation this last weekend. And what I mean by installation is that you will see many of them hanging, and it sounds just so wonderful. Well, thanks to the Dutch, yep, there goes the Dutch again. Thanks to the Dutch in the 1700s, they brought glass making to Japan. And they did that first, making its way to Nagasaki. And then from that glass trade, Japan started to hand paint them. And then the wind chime, or furin, was born. And now we have every summer just so many examples of this. And I wanted to bring it to your attention because there is a store that is over 100 years old in Tokyo called Edo Furin. And it would make just the perfect souvenir for you to bring home when you visit Tokyo. All right, everybody. Yeah, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.